Welcome into the Bro Force Squad, where we are not too worried about the glow. This is our review on The Bulls, The Last Dance, episodes 7 and 8. Grading this on our 5 criteria: cast, story, best scene, impacts on pop culture, and rewatchability. So, let's throw it to the mayor himself, Fumer. I've been drinking way too much. Past Supersonics fan, Jeff Hornstead.
I told George, I said, fuck your plan. I'm guarding Jordan. And that totally changed the perspective of the series. Now, granted, we lost.
They did win 2 games, though.
I know, and as a kid, like being a huge Supersonics fan, you believe whatever, you make up your own reality. So I was like, dude, fuck this Bulls team. We got these guys. We didn't.
Is George Karl a good coach? They said he was. I digress on that. He's a fine coach.
He probably is, but his problem is like every time he leaves a place, he doesn't just like walk out the door. Hey, thanks, guys. There's like huge problems that he has when he leaves a job, and it's.
But George Karl, I just feel like he has to do something like that. Like, hey, I'm not gonna have Peyton guard Jordan. Like, just
he overcoaches.
So people know he just overcoaches. I'm like, why? He's like one of the best defensive players, not 98 in the history of the fucking game. Why wouldn't he guard Jordan?
He was Defensive Player of the Year, like the 3 straight year. Whatever. Don't get me started. Let me save something.
Can you talk about the cast? Because I threw it to you.
You don't want to introduce Banner?
Hey, guys.
Brian Banner's here as well.
Okay, Banner, you can take it away with the cast.
Oh, all right. This, I don't know, kind of low-hanging fruit here, but the way that Jordan treated Steve Burrell, Scott Burrell, excuse me. I have not been drinking.
You just more than
but
Jordan.
He treated Steve Kerr and Scott Burrell both poorly, so you're kind of combining.
Yeah, he just the way that he treated him at practice and just beat him down mentally. Like it was beating me down. Like I don't know how you could take that all day, every day.
It's just kind of want to start calling all you guys hoes whenever I throw it to you, because that's fucking great that Jordan called all his teammates hoes.
Would you agree though? Almost like anything, it's like it just starts to lose its effect at a certain point. Like if you just scream at me literally 99% of the time, it's not effective. Now the person, whether it be a teammate or a coach, I guess we're talking about Scott Burrell or Jordan here for cast, who like picks and chooses when they yell at you. I always remember that guy, like, if you had a coach that didn't yell much and then they screamed at you, you were like, oh, shit. All right, you guys ready to go? But the guy that yells at you all the time, it's just like, whatever, in one ear, out the other.
Yeah, I mean, I think it still holds a little bit more weight when it's the best player on the face of the earth yelling at you.
But it's almost to the point, like, if you're admittedly the best player in the world, how can you possibly expect me, Scott Burrell, to be the same thing? Aren't you supposed to be this transcendent talent? So if I'm supposed to be as good as you, then you're nothing special. It was almost my counterpoint.
Scott Burrell was a good middle of the road NBA player.
Yeah, he had a good career. But if I'm Michael Jordan and you're sitting here screaming, you need to be doing the things that I'm doing, I'd be like, well, then why am I supposed to look at you as the best player in the world or of all time?
Yeah.
If a guy making $580,000 on the Bulls on a 1-year deal should be held to the same expectation that you are.
This would never work today just because, I mean, the middle of the road players are getting paid so much. There's no way they'd put up with that. There's no fucking way, I don't think.
They're divas. I don't have much else for cast because I feel like these two, this was like just very, very Jordan-centric, which is totally fine. Like the series has earned that right, and I think at this point where the stories sort of coalesce, it makes a lot of sense. But when we get to story and best scene, I'll have a lot to add. But Matt, I really don't have anything else to add to
well, good, because I have a lot for fucking cast, because this brought up the 3, this isn't a fucking argument, the 3 greatest NBA jerseys in the history of the NBA, and that is the Charlotte Hornets, the Orlando Magic, and the Seattle Supersonics. And even you could fight me that I think the neon green Seattle Supersonics jerseys are way better than these hunter green ones, but the neon green didn't have the
Space Needle in the
Space
fucking
Needle on it. So I was showing my wife that. I said, God, these fucking jerseys, they're not creative anymore at all in the NBA or really any sport for that
Matt,
matter.
I can see you pausing it, and you go, see, the Space Needle is the eye.
Yeah. It's so fucking cool.
Yeah, I get that.
And the Kemp jersey, the Peyton jersey, the Penny Hardaway jersey, which I own, Shaquille O'Neal, Nick the Quick Anderson, Charlotte Hornets, everyone had a Larry Johnson jersey. He wasn't on that team. He was with the Knicks already. But with the pinstripes, I'm really glad they finally got to. I'm like, okay, these are the teams I really wanted to see. And then you ask the question, how in the hell, the Eastern Conference must have been as weak as it is fucking now. How in the hell did the New Jersey Nets with like Kittles and Keith Van Horn and that Hornets team that traded away LJ for Mason, who was
traded Kobe on draft night
game
for Vlade Divac?
Yes, I mean they had no one on that fucking team. Like Glenn Rice was their leading scorer. And and they're in the second round, Jeff, like you said before. In the second fucking round. Like they beat somebody to get there.
I didn't see on the I couldn't catch it on the bracket. Who did they beat in the first round? Was it that Mutombo Hawks team that was like a miracle? Or what?
Maybe. I mean, that was Mookie Blaylock, and man, and I don't. The only thing I'll say is the Bulls must have been good because that fucking Magic team was stacked. Now it was a very raw Shaquille O'Neal, pretty raw Penny Hardaway. I mean, he was still. He was on the rise of being one of the greatest players in the NBA. But I would have to say this. I mean, if Shaq was the Shaq he was in LA, where he kind of knew his own game and shit, I don't think they would have swept him. I think they might have still beat him, but I don't think they would have swept him that series. But anything else you guys want to add? Because these were the jerseys that everyone fucking bought. Like, even when you're in the Midwest, you're buying Orlando Magic Supersonics jerseys. I mean, they were like the coolest fucking jerseys ever.
No, I mean, you've seen my Sean Kemp number 40 jersey, so you played to the crowd with that one.
All right, story. Let's go to Banner, the guy I forgot. If Jordan was on this pod, he'd be screaming at me for the way I'm hosting this. It's fucking pathetic. It's terrible. He'd be calling me a hoe. Banner, story.
So, like you said, Jeff, this is very Jordan-centered, which is fine. I wish that, obviously, they got to Jordan's dad dying. I wish they would have talked a little bit more on the lore and the backstory of that. Obviously, if Jordan has creative control, he's not going to include that in this. But I would have liked to see more of that and have them explain more of the conspiracy behind his dad's death.
Yeah, and Geiger knows this. We talked about this. So that was the thing. They they had to mention it.
Yeah.
Brought in David Stern to talk about the conspiracy theory and all that.
Stern.
But I think you could do another documentary even without Jordan's blessing on the other side of the coin. And we're on this podcast, we're always, we want to see both sides of everything.
Equal opportunity.
Yep.
And I don't think because we're running out of like runway in terms of episodes, we can't bog it down too much with that. But at least they brought up the idea that, hey, there's this other conspiracy theory out there to look at. A couple things that I want to point out really briefly on the story, and this felt like the time where I really felt like the way that they're telling the narrative, like the 98 season is one whole side of the coin, and then basically from Jordan being drafted and the inception of this Bulls team up till then is another. This is where we really got close to them coalescing. A couple things I just thought were interesting. Number one, Pippen benching himself when Kukoc got that last shot.
I don't remember that at all. I mean, I was maybe 4, but I don't remember that at all. But that's rough.
I mean, I'm sure he regrets it, but is that not the bitch of the most bitch moves?
I always thought Pippen. Well, I know Pippen's a bitch because the bad boys made him a bitch, basically, and he was always pretty soft. But I never thought he was like that, really.
He's not looking good throughout this entire show.
I've never had too much respect for Pippen. I'll just say it. I always thought he was just kind of the Robin that, okay, I'll carry you on the dream team. He was a great player. Dude, still, I will say he was not a top 50 player in 1998. I will tell you that right fucking now. I could name you 50 other players that were on that Bulls team that'd make him better.
Well, like Banner said, if he's not like being a complete unprofessional asshole, whether it was warranted or not, to Jerry Krause on the bus, then he's doing this shit. Like, yeah. Man, to not even come in the game, dude, to even be like a decoy. And Tony Kukoc Has he spent any more of the documentary with his arms up? Like, I don't know what the fuck's going on.
Yeah,
Like, I'm not even from this fucking country, dude. Did we
jumped
underrate Tony Kukoc?
I think so.
maybe.
I didn't know he was. I mean, he was just a guy on Jordan's team when I was growing up. Obviously, when I'm 7 years old, I don't think I could sit down with you, have a beer at the bar, and have a fucking adequate basketball conversation with you. But I think he was a lot better player than we were kind of getting. Especially, I think it was because this was before the Euro craze happened, like Dirk and Ginobili and all those guys, where people were actually respecting him because they didn't play defense. They were a little soft. But whenever a 6'9" guy can fucking just post up and then shoot a fucking mid-range jumper all day, I mean, he's pretty dangerous.
But I don't think it's crazy to say, and I know, Matt, I know you'll agree with this. Banner, I'd be interested to hear your take. I don't think it's crazy to say he's the second best player on that 98 Bulls team.
No, not at all.
Yeah. So one last thing, I have to add for story. I grew up in Auburn, Washington. I am a diehard Seattle Supersonics fan. I basically peed my pants when I got to meet Gary Payton. He was attending a University of Washington basketball game when I was about 7. I idolized this Sonics team. For them to finally be in the documentary, I mean, it's a very biased take, but it was really cool to see them. And Gary Payton's interview, as cocky and maybe misdirected as it was, and Jordan's response to him, dude, you can fuck off. He could have clamped you down if he wanted to. Now, I'm not saying like you wouldn't score on him, but you have to give respect to other players in the league. He won Defensive Player of the Year 3 times, and you're going to laugh at the fact that he thought he could guard you towards the end of your career? Dude, fuck off. Like, who are you? And yes, I'm biased. I'll admit it, but that also doesn't mean I'm
I'll
wrong.
back you on that. Jordan's the greatest. That's fine. But Gary Payton, dude, he's a top 50 player, top 25 player of the whole 90s. I mean, probably a top couple hundred player ever. I mean, one of the greatest point guards ever. Probably, I would say, Jeff, probably a top 100 defender ever. Maybe even top 50. I mean,
his
he was
offensive
a great
game really
fucking
came
player.
around like the middle of his career. But yeah, I just didn't like how Jordan disrespected him. But it was, I think, Matt, you brought this up multiple times. The coolest part of this not the coolest part, but one of the cooler parts of this documentary is getting to see all these other, because the 90s was really a time of parity for the league. Jordan's played basically a different team in the finals every year.
Yeah.
That's great for the league. It really is.
It is good for the league because it wasn't the same fucking shit all the time. It was it was just a different team, a different test every fucking year. But yeah, Peyton, I thought he disrespected him a ton there, man. It's like, I guess it was just a different time back then, but Peyton's a fucking great player. Obviously, he got his team to the fucking finals. I mean, all right, so story for me, I'm just going to, so I don't really care. They got into his dad dying enough. Man, I'm not, Jordan's a celebrity, but he's also a human being. Like, I don't want to hear, like, if it was his fault, I don't really want to hear about it. That's a fucking tragedy, dude, if you lose your father. I don't really want to talk about that at all. What I do want to talk about is, did any of you guys just push pause or go to the bathroom and just think, Jordan quit to play baseball? Like, that is the weirdest fucking thing ever. And then when David Stern comes on, there's no conspiracy. What proof do you have of the conspiracy? I'm just like, okay, he said he was burnt out. Banner, if you're burnt out of something, he's burnt out of basketball. So what are you going to do, Jeff? Play a game that's more grinding. 162 fucking games, motherfucker. Like, baseball is way more grinding than basketball. Can we all agree with that? Basketball is probably the second most grinding sport. Baseball is the first.
Especially as a position player where you're playing every day.
Position player, correct, yes. And then one of the biggest reaches ever was Reinsdorf saying, if we didn't have a lockout, he would have played in the pros. I'm like, yeah, because you need ticket sales. Jordan sucked at baseball. There's nothing you can fucking show me. He had a 13-game hitting streak. I played college baseball at a very low level. If I went to AA right now and all they threw me was fastballs, I guarantee you I could hit 220. Guarantee you I could. I could probably hit 250. If all they threw me was fastballs.
I don't know about that. But
if all I had was fastballs, I mean, I used to fucking I was hitting 93, 94 all the time. But whenever they figured out Jordan couldn't hit anything else, and then he couldn't fucking hit, he looked terrible in the outfield. He's not a good baseball player at all. He wasn't. Like, can we all agree on that? He shouldn't even have been there. and it's the weirdest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Ben, I don't know if you have anything to add, but one thing I'll say, it did get left out, and I'm not defending him as a baseball player, but you got to admit this, Matt, to hit 202 at AA after having not played in 13 years is. Now, maybe they were like giving him some fucking cookie fastballs. I'll give you that. But they left this out of the documentary. He stole 30 bags that year. I looked it up. He stole 31 bases, which is kind of impressive. Now, maybe I don't know. Again, it was Jordan. We've all seen the Space Jam clips where the catcher's like telling him the pitch. Maybe they didn't throw down to second a couple times. I don't know what the deal was, but I think I'm not saying he never would have made the major leagues. Like, I'm way too realistic to think that. He probably would have been,
especially
if his name
in
wasn't
that
Michael.
time.
Sure.
For baseball. I mean, that was like
Jeff,
right in
you're
the middle
probably
of
the
the
biggest
steroid
baseball
era.
guy in the pod. You hitting, what did you say, 2-0? What was he hitting? 211?
He hit 202 for the year.
202. What was that in the majors? 106? Maybe?
Yeah, they say double A is where you sink or swim. I mean, there's no equivalent because you wouldn't even get a cup of coffee.
Well,
but I think...
And baseball is all about adjustments. That's all. That's why he had a 13-game hit streak and then didn't hit or shit for a couple months because he can't adjust. I mean, that's all baseball is adjustments.
Yeah. I just think for him not having played for 13 years to even like basically last a full season and not be like, because I think the main thing we've learned from this, he's a very prideful individual. I'm surprised after a month and a half in, he wasn't like, dude, fuck this. I'm not.
He was probably still playing 18 every day too.
I'm sure there were special Jordan rules, as the book probably stated.
What's insane, though, is that, you go to a sport, he's burnt out, and obviously he's not going to baseball to relax. I mean, he was working his ass off, I'll give him that, but it's just, can we all agree that there's something deeper to him going to baseball? I don't know if his dad or something, but there's something, if it wasn't a suspension, and I'll say that Sturm didn't lie. There's no suspension, but there was, can you just get lost for a while so we can kind of die this down and come back? I will never believe he just went to baseball because that's the last conversation he had with his dad. And the other guy that I don't even know who the fuck he was, like, oh yeah, he told me he was going to baseball like before the fucking season even started in basketball or something. I'm like, dude, fuck your book deal. There's just too much. There's too much to it. I won't believe it. I'll never fucking believe it.
Yeah, I'll agree. The pieces don't exactly fit together, for sure.
All right. I got one more thing on Story also. Okay. Guys, Warner Brothers literally built him a gym on set to get back in shape.
Okay, yeah, those are no...
the George Dome.
Yeah, that was insane. They built a fucking practice arena.
And it looked like those were some of the best games that he'd played in like a while. Like,
oh yeah.
The people that were
LJ,
Reggie
Barkley
Miller
were there, and then like Reggie Miller and Rodman and all those guys showed up.
O'Neal.
Yep, Shaq. And literally, did the director not say, "Hey MJ, maybe we should get Sean Bradley out of here and put Shaq in"? Like, what the fuck? Like, what are we doing?
They didn't have the budget for Shaq. I know it. That's what my prediction was.
He's just like, nah, MJ, I'm cool. I'm doing this movie, Kazam. It's going to be bigger than your movie, actually. So
it's actually a pretty good movie.
Best scene. Keep it going, Banner.
The way they started episode 7 with Krause at that presser, just going, there is no backstabbing going on.
My favorite quote. Sorry.
We say this on the pod. The first scene doesn't have to be the best scene, but it's got to set a tone.
Ding.
So when Krause walks off, I just wrote down the other reporter who goes, because Craig Sager asked him that question. The other reporter who goes, way to go, Craig.
Rest in peace, the great Craig Sager.
And Krause. Everyone's dead involved with this.
It set, you knew where we were going that night. We're watching those 2 episodes after that. And then it cuts right into like the opening credits. It was a great cold open.
Yes.
That was really good.
Jeff.
All right, I have a couple really quick ones. First off, hey, Banner, let's give an applause. We actually had an actual Matt Geiger sighting in this episode. Right. He came off the bench, bald head, soul patch, and all the high five BJ Armstrong in the middle of that Game 1 performance. A great quote I had from BJ Armstrong. He's reminiscing about his Bulls days, and he's asked, was Michael nice? And he goes, was Michael nice? and I just wrote down 8-minute pause. Never really answered the question.
He really didn't.
Another thing, Matt, that I wrote, how many hours of footage do we have to dig through to find a fucking Bill Wellington reverse dunk?
No shit.
When you saw that, were you not like, was it edited?
I love that he's in his like attic with like a casino machine in the background, just talking about the whole time. Like, he lives in a house like the size of ours, pretty much, and just like,
and his
yeah,
kids
this is
come
great.
in behind him.
My
He's
wife
like,
told me I
"God
could
damn
set
it."
up the attic. Yeah, my wife told me I could set up the attic for this documentary thing. She's like, I guarantee he's like, hey babe, we're doing this Bulls documentary. He's like, oh yeah, I almost forgot you played for them. Yeah, go ahead, just set up the attic. That's cool.
And then he asked the documentary guys, you brought cash, right?
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah. Last thing I want to say, I don't know if you guys noticed this, but it wasn't really in the background. It was kind of emphasized briefly, but when they were playing the Sonics, a fan had a sign up that said, legalize Kemp, which I think is the greatest sign of all time.
Yes. When I saw that, I'm like, wow, that sign works today. Like, wow.
I was like, God, I fucking miss Seattle and the Sonics fans. That's because that guy's like, I don't even give a fuck about the game, bro. I gotta make a message.
Yeah, man, but fucking weed, dude, right?
I thought of Banner the second I saw. I was like, that would be Banner, but then Banner would be like, but on the flip side, it actually says Pippin suck a dick, because I do care about the game.
Obviously.
That's all I got for scene. It was a lot of like mini moments that I really enjoyed from these two episodes.
So my best scene, and Banner can relate to me on this because I think he's had a couple edibles, but there's some times in my life, I'm a little over 30 right now, that I'll watch something and I'll actually remember what I was doing when I was watching this when it happened. So when it did the Sonics Bulls series from 98, I literally remember I had a Michael Jordan basketball hoop in my living room, and anytime I'd watch the finals, I had a jersey on, and I'd like mimic what they were doing. And literally I'd mimic like fucking Sean Kemp's dunks and like all this fucking shit. And when I was watching that series, and man, why would I ever go back and watch a 1998 NBA Finals series? Like, I wouldn't do it. But I was watching this documentary, I'm like, God, I picture myself in my living room doing like the back to the basket, fake left, fade away jumper right, Jordan. Then I'd be doing the Sean Kemp dunk. And it just was a nostalgic fucking feeling. And honestly, it's sad to say, but the NBA is just not like that anymore, because after the game, man, like LeBron and all those guys are boys. Like, obviously right now, I guarantee you Sean Payton does not like what Jordan said about him. Guarantee you. And Jordan had no sympathy at all for Payton. Didn't like him at all. Didn't like anyone he was playing against. And it's just not like that anymore.
No. Yeah, and I almost wish they had Sean Kemp on this documentary too. I know he's had his issues since the documentary, but the one thing I do respect the NBA for, they have done a good job of keeping the stars from this era involved with like the game and the league. Like, you'll see All-Star Weekend, all these guys show up, but you're right. Like, it's been 15, 20 years for a lot of these rivalries, and they still don't fucking like each other. And these guys that are playing against, case in point, Kevin Durant, the team who beat the shit out of him, he joins them the next year. Jordan literally would have rather killed himself than go join like the Sonics or the Suns if they would have beat them in the finals.
No, Jeff, it would have been like Jordan joining the Pistons. That's what it would have been like.
Which is, I can't even fathom that.
All right, impacts on pulp culture. I just want to keep this going because I want to bring this up because it ties in right up. The impacts on pulp culture to me is like, are nicknames dead? Because they did Kemp and his Rain Man. You had Sir Charles Barkley. You had Clyde the Glide Drexler. Like, now, like, NBA players don't really have. You got the Beard, which the I guess
Greek
is
Freak, but I guess.
But, yeah, I guess some of them do. I mean, the Beard I think is kind of a weak nickname. Steph Curry doesn't really have a nickname. LeBron, I guess, is King James, I guess. Sure. Durant doesn't have a nick. They call him the Durantula, I think. But not as cool as, like, man, the Rain Man was fucking great because he played in Seattle. Clyde the Glide, Sir Charles, the Worm, fucking Dennis Rodman. Like, nicknames in the NBA, like, if you were a top 50 player, you had a nickname. Yep. And now it just doesn't seem like nicknames are a fucking thing anymore. And that was my impact. Whenever I heard the Rain Man And my wife was like, the Rain Man. I was like, yeah, he played in Seattle. Like, it was like, that was Sean Kemp's nickname. The Glove. And she's like, why is the Glove? I was like, because he fits you like a glove. And he's like, probably the best defensive player. And she's like, that's a cool nickname. I'm like, I know. No one fucking has nicknames like that anymore. And it sucks. Bring back nicknames, NBA. First, bring back the NBA. Then bring back nicknames. Okay, Jeff. Impacts.
That's a really good point. I think that the main thing that I kind of got from this is that this Bulls team, it's maybe this is what the director intended for, but like their lasting impact will be manufacturing turmoil. Like they were the team that could only win under chaos. Like Steve Kerr is talking about like, yeah, we're basically the best team in the league. So in order to motivate people, Jordan would just fucking punch people on the team. Like they would fabricate or manufacture, and dude, I am totally okay with that. Like whatever you have to do to get yourself motivated. But like look at Jordan throughout the documentary, and this is not to bash Jordan, but he's blamed every time the media's reported on him. It's been a fucking hit piece. Like, okay, but is what they're saying accurate? He's like, oh man, they're just fucking out to get me. I'm like, but you're not answering the question. So again, they find things to motivate them, which is fine because let's admit, especially like after he came back from retirement, they were so much better than everyone else that they probably had to find things to motivate themselves. Yeah. In a weird way, I think that helps accentuate how great they were. But that's one thing that I mean, we know the story a little bit, so rewatching it, we can kind of read between the lines. And that's the impact that I've picked up. It's like, this was a team that was so good that they had to basically make up things to motivate themselves because simply trying to beat the Suns, who they probably could have swept if they really wanted to, is like not enough motivation for them.
Banner?
The deeper we get into this docu-series, the more the things aren't as sugar-coated as they were. At the beginning, everything was kind of happy and everything was great. That was obviously the beginning of the 98 season. Even, I mean, it wasn't, but that's how they're painting that picture. And then the deeper we get in, the more chaos starts to happen. And kind of like what you were saying, they had to manufacture motivation. They just started to, they're just not good like role models anymore. And you're getting to see that side of them that was kept from, I mean, us as kids. They're just, it was crazy how much turmoil there was there at the end. And the deeper we get into it, it's literally like you wrote a feature film. I keep saying that, but the way that this is all playing out is a feature film.
Mm-hmm. Let's not try to cast the film because one of us will try and, for the 8 millionth time, cast Michael B. Jordan as somebody.
What about the Jordan laughing meme? I mean, that's pretty impactful on pop culture right now.
Which I hate, but no one will
I've seen that used like 20 times this week on different types of stuff. It's fucking
So now we have Jordan crying and Jordan laughing. He's all ends of the emotional spectrum.
That's fine. All right, last segment. Let's just do episodes 9 and 10. Like, what's left? What do you want to see? Obviously, we got 2 Jazz series, right? Don't they play them back-to-back years? We got the DDP Karl Malone versus Hollywood Hogan and Dennis Rodman in WCW. Hopefully they cover. And that's about it though. We got the 97, 98 season left, and that's it.
Yeah, I'm kind of more interested, and this is just because like we know how it happens because we all remember like the Jordan Byron Russell shot. But I hope that we, for episode 10 at least, can kind of get almost a full episode of like the fallout, because obviously Jordan retires, Pippen goes to the Blazers. I don't even remember what Rodman does. Do you remember where he goes?
Pippen goes to the Blazers?
Yeah, Pippen plays with the Blazers.
I thought he went to... When does he go to the Rockets?
Pippen?
Yeah.
I know his next big deal is with Portland.
Okay, but then after that, he plays with Barkley and Olajuwon and Drexler with the Rockets, remember?
Yeah, I know he plays at least 2-3 years with the Blazers. Kerr, I think, goes to the Spurs. I think Ron Harper goes to the Rockets. So I kind of want to see the fallout of this team. Did Phil take a few years off before the Lakers job?
Yes. Oh, yeah. Because he goes there when they have Shaq. Played for Del Harris for a while, I think.
Yeah, when they had 4 All-Stars. So I kind of want to see like how the team breaks up, and then, I mean, we've kind of, like Banner said, we've bashed Krause most of the documentary. How does Krause respond when for the next 2-3 years they're in the lottery? You know, like what?
Yeah, because I don't remember the '99 Bulls team. Like who was on that team? I have no clue.
No one does. Like who was like the second ship at Plymouth Rock? Like I don't fucking know.
Gun to my head, I couldn't tell you one player. I don't know if Cool Coach is on there. Rodman's gone. Does he go to? He goes to Dallas.
He goes to Dallas. Maybe it is Dallas. Yeah. But that's what I want to see, like the fallout, and then maybe like how, because we know what happened with with the main players like Jordan and Phil, but
yeah,
like next year, how did Krause and Reinsdorf react? How did the Chicago market react? How did those guys? So that'd be cool to see for me.
Banner.
Yeah, I agree. I think that everything that needs to be covered where the two storylines intersect can be done in one episode. And the fallout would be really cool, where everybody went, kind of how everybody felt about how that last season ended up going. Because we've gotten individual parts, but like an overall overview, like of what that season was and what that season meant before they all split ways.
And Jordan did, to my recollection, did he retire again and sit out like a year before he came back to the Wizards?
Yes, and that's what I want to talk about, Jeff, because there's stuff Jordan, and I'm not a big Jordan backer. I'm a huge Tiger Woods backer, and there's some stuff that we just kind of brush over for him, especially at the end of his career. We'll just talk about the great times. But no one talks about Jordan's baseball career, and no one talks about Jordan's Wizards career at all. Like, that's never brought up at a bar. Like, when
he did win an All-Star Game MVP, Matt.
I know, but when someone's talking about LeBron versus fucking Jordan, no one brings up Wizards ever. That's not brought up. Even on the LeBron side, it's not brought up for some reason. But I want to see, because I don't remember this at all, why did Jordan retire? Like, why didn't he just go to a different team in '99? And then when did he come back to the Wizards? Was it? I have a feeling it was like 01, 02. Okay, yeah, I thought it was like
a while.
3 years. So, and I want an interview with Kwame Brown. That's what I want. But we're not getting to any of that. Jeff, what's going to happen is episode 9 is going to be the 97 season, all about the 97 season and the Jazz, and then little snippets of 98. The 98 is just going to be about the Jazz series. I don't think we're going to get a fallout, which hopefully they might come out with one with the NBA, like if the NBA actually has a finals this year, because I want to see the fallout. I want to see, okay, Pippen went here and Kerr went here and Jordan set out, but then he came back to the Wizards. I want like a Jordan Wizards thing.
Yeah, well, he was playing with him as a partial owner, if I remember right. Wasn't he? Or he was like in the front office.
He was Jackie Moon.
He drafted Kwame Brown, which he'll never live down.
I would love to see who else is in that draft, because I guarantee you there's probably, 4 Hall of Famers probably in that draft. Looked over.
Probably. I'm scared to look. Probably.
All right. Well, I'm hosting, so I can't look. We've been the Bro Force Squad. Check out our website, broforcesquad.com. We're on iTunes, YouTube, and Anchor. Subscribe to us on all those. Twitter, @BroForceSquad. Tweet at us, and Letterboxd to find all our reviews. Until then, I'm Matt. He's Brian. He's Jeff. And check us again for episodes 9 and 10 of The Last Dance. Same time, same channel here next week.
I told George, fuck that. I'm guarding Jordan. Also, I don't trust him when it spells Carl with a K. What are you, like the Brian Johnson of NBA coaches?
He does ruin franchises.